Yeah.
So your mental state at this point, what's your mental state like?
I was in such discomfort. Anybody who's had a catheter,
I'm sure.
it's uncomfortable, and your whole system is whacked out. Anything you're used to doing, sleeping at night is uncomfortable.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
This isn't a second opinion. It's where you're going to get the surgery done, and a second opinion.
Well, she was probably tired of stopping every rest stop because you had to pee.
A bunch of full bottles in the back of the car,
This makes the decision making so much easier.
I'm not doing this again. I'm not stopping 50 times.
Can we please just go down to Atlantic City without stopping 4 times? That's all I want. That's all I want.
Hanging it out the window.
Oh yeah. So we went down to Johns Hopkins, and we had they looked at the slides from the biopsy, and they said that, they looked at my PSA score, and they said, we definitely agree with the urologist that you should have the surgery. So we booked it May 7th, 2015. And so I went home, and then I had to go to work for like a couple weeks. And you can imagine how productive I was at work.
Did you tell anybody?
Yes.
You did.
I'm not somebody who, obviously I'm talking about it on a podcast, so
It's not like it's a secret anymore.
but a lot of men don't want to talk about it,
I don't know.
See, it's that feeling weakness. You don't want to show signs of weakness.
Yep.
Just knowing myself the way that I do, I would probably not tell anybody because it's my worry.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
And I do understand that. I just, I didn't broadcast it generally, but some people at work knew about it. My boss's boss.
What was the reaction?
Oh, it was, so-and-so had it too. I know somebody's going through that right now. So it was like, yeah, we know somebody. You're not the only one, James. So it turns out at the time, a colleague, an older colleague, he had gone through prostate cancer, and he became a mentor to me, which is kind of part of my story about trying to do the same thing with other people and helping them. He told me about what he went through. It was similar, and he sort of was there for questions because I didn't know what was going to go on.
It's that sympathy versus empathy thing. Yeah. It's great to have empathy for somebody in pain, but having sympathy, now that puts your guard down. So it allows you to open up a little bit more.
Me and Kevin went through similar things. When we went through our incidents, you don't feel better until you talk to someone who's been through that already. Right. Someone who could open a door for you and let you know you're gonna feel this, you're gonna feel that. Because all these feelings are new to you.
Yes, yeah, and the people were saying, but people have different experiences with their prostate cancer, which we'll talk about in a second. But you're the only one in the end. Like you get people helping you, but you're still dealing with it.
Yeah.
And I had that 2 weeks, and my boss and the management team where I worked were very kind. They knew I was struggling with this.
Did they tell you you had the good cancer?
I did have some people tell me, some very lovely, nice people.
Oh, you're lucky you have that cancer.
Oh yeah, I feel lucky.
They're trying to tell you to feel. Don't get too scared.
Listen, I want to be lucky with the lottery. I don't want to be lucky with cancer.
I wasn't lucky. It wasn't a lucky thing. So we went down, and Kelly and I went down, and she stayed with me. The night before, we stayed in a hotel across from Johns Hopkins. And it was May. It was the end of this college school year. And there was a big group of partying students in the street beneath our hotel. So here I am, ready to go under the knife, lose my prostate. And I'm hearing all these young, lively kids celebrating and having a great time outside my window. I said, this is awful. This is terrible.
A terrible curse.
They were all smoking pot with Johnny Hopkins and drinking with Sloan Kettering.
Oh, they were just...
As long as your doctor wasn't down there with them drinking.
They were there till like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And we went, and I had the surgery. And, it was over the next day. The surgeon was, he was happy with the results. And I went home. But unfortunately, because of my physiology, and it's very unusual that this happens, but I had some complications that required me to stay on a catheter for 6 weeks. I had some issues because of my particular physiology, and I was trying to overdo, because you put on a catheter afterward, and usually it's like 10 days to 2 weeks. I was when they took the catheter out initially, I strained too hard trying to control urine flow.
Yeah.
Sorry to get graphic, but that's one of the things that happens when you get out. So I'm trying to, and I strained too hard, and something
Burst.
went.
Yeah.
And they had to put we had to drive back down the next day and put the catheter back in. So I had it 6 weeks.
I've done that before, but I usually burst a blood vessel.
But
listen, it's the only way what I found. It's more about your mental state and how willing you are to fight, because if you don't have that fight in you, I mean, we've seen it with police where we know police officers who have gotten shot in the chest and survived, and other ones who've gotten shot in the finger and died because it's, oh my God, I'm shot, I'm going to die, and they bleed out.
Yeah.
So your mental state at this point, what's your mental state like?
I was in such discomfort. Anybody who's had a catheter,
I'm sure
it's uncomfortable, and your whole system is whacked out. Anything you're used to doing, sleeping at night is uncomfortable. Only briefly took some pain medication. Then it was just like Advil or whatever else I was taking. But it was just so uncomfortable, and I kept looking at that bag that you're looking at, and it was red, which meant there was still some blood. So I knew I wasn't getting it out till that was clear, and it finally did clear up. We went down. They did an X-ray type of a thing, and they found out that I still had to go back for put it back in, leave it in for another couple of weeks.
Yay!
Yeah.
And I started feeling really sorry for myself. My middle daughter at this time was now getting married to a guy, our son-in-law, who was in the Air Force, and she was a homebody. She was always around home. She was also leaving us. So they were getting on with their lives.
You should have played the cancer card on them and said, "Come on, man, I got cancer. You gotta leave me too."
Yeah, we were. So my wife was taking care of me, grieving our grandson being down in Texas, and apologies to my family down in Texas, because they're now back up in West Caldwell, New Jersey. Thank goodness.
Everybody comes home.
Yeah, but she had that. Plus, she was planning a shower, and we were planning a wedding and all that. And I just felt weak. I initially lost a lot of weight, but the good news was when the pathology came back on the surgery, that's when they really know what the stage of cancer is, or the type of cancer, and it was consistent with the biopsy. So it was still a less aggressive form, but it was a matter of, like, when you do get the catheter out, by the way, I lost most of my urinary control. And so,
did you have to wear like an adult diaper?
Yes, I did.
Holy cow.
Did. Yeah.
So that indignity that we were talking about with your father, I don't care what kind of man you are.
Yeah.
You strap on a pair of them.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
It was rough. And it was just, my wife would take me out for walks. I'd walk around the street. Neighbors would bake us bread. And, I had Kelly went out one time, and she had my neighbor come over and sit with me. There are so many people came around us. It was just wonderful.
But see, to me, that's a great gesture.
Yeah.
I don't want people doting on me, though.
Yeah.
You want people around you, but maybe it's the machismo in us as guys, where it's like, let me be.
Yeah. I mean, to me, well, Kelly will tell anybody. It's I like the attention.
So that was right up your alley then.
Yeah. I enjoyed seeing people. and as much as I felt lousy, it was somebody to talk to. I did a lot of reading, and I wish I listened to podcasts back then. I didn't. I was doing a lot of reading, but it took time, and eventually it healed, and it took a while to go back to work again. I think I was out of work like 6 weeks because I couldn't go to work with a catheter.
Catheter, yeah.
But you lose urinary control, and
See, me personally, I would go to work with a catheter in, and I would hang the bag on the outside because I don't want anybody around me.
yeah. Well, that would do the trick.
It's like, hey, whoa,
swinging it.
Swinging.
you go up to shake it. Whoa, I'll see you.
Here,
Yeah.
hold this for me.
Can
Yeah.
you give me a hand?
It was tough, but getting the good results back, and then going for checkups, and they start doing the tests on the PSA again because they want to make sure it should be non-detectable when you've had your prostate removed. So there shouldn't be any statistical indication it's back. And I was going initially, I think, once every 3 months. Then it was 6 months, and then a year. We did have 1 year. The lab report came back with a detectable, which scared the living daylights out. It was about a year afterwards, I think. And we were terrified. And I was terrified. Kelly said, call the doctor and see what he says. And he said, listen, it may just be a
False positive.
false positive. Yes, exactly. A false
Spurious
positive.
reading.
A spurious reading, whatever. And, but we can't do it for another 2 weeks. So that was a lovely 2 weeks.
Sure.
Came back non-detectable.
You may have
a lot of prayers there. A lot of prayers.
You may have cancer. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Have a nice day. Just try not to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, what is the long-term effects of this surgery that you went through?
There are sexual side effects. There are urinary side effects. Both of which, particularly the urinary, comes back faster, and that's you don't realize how important normal functions are to you. You take them for granted.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it was very difficult. And when I started to get that back, that was a big plus. And the other takes time.
Side effects suck, but at least you're alive.
You're
Exactly.
alive, and they get better. They improve.
As long as one of the side effects is still breathing,
Yes.
then
yes.
that's a perfect side effect.
Absolutely. But I lost a lot of weight after the surgery, and then I put on a lot of weight, and I had to lose that. So that was the way it went. But
You don't recommend the cancer diet.
oh no, it was a big surgery. Even though it was. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention it was robotic surgery.
Oh, like a LASIK type of thing?
Well, they use this machine. They do a bunch of small incisions, and they go in with this. It's actually a robot.
Yeah, and the
they go in
doctor
and
just sits behind like a
they sit
computer.
like
Plays a video
Like
game.
Nintendo.
joysticks, yeah.
Yeah.
And they do a miraculous stuff, and they did all that. So the healing time compared to what it used to be is incredible. From what I heard, like my grandfather had his prostate removed probably 60 years ago, and they were devastating surgeries back then.
Right.
Now-
Almost barbaric and compared to.
Yeah, compared to now.
Yeah.
So
You use like a hammer and chisel back then.
hammer and
you know?
chisel, and but I mean, I did have the complications, and that was difficult. But I ended up doing fine, and I can't even see where the incisions are anymore, which is really terrific.
Now, what kind of perspective has this given you on life moving forward? Are you willing to try new? Obviously, you're willing to try new things. You started a podcast, for God's sakes.
Yes, I'll tell you, there's an unfortunate thing that happens with people like me who tend to suffer from anxiety, is that you think that once this is solved, you're good. You'll never worry about anything trivial again. Well, initially it was like, thank goodness, it came out okay. But what if it does come back?
You always have the Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
What if something else comes back somewhere else?
Or
If I got it once, what's the chance of me getting it twice?
What fun would life be if it's always a sound effect in the back going, wah, wah, wah.
Exactly. So I started getting online because I got different pains here and there. I heard somewhere once you get cancer that you're more likely to get
The rate goes up. Yeah.
Whatever. I don't even know if they were real statistics, but I started doing that. So that was a little bit of a problem. But then something really good happened, and I say good not in that it wasn't really good, but it gave me sort of a purpose for why I went through this, and what God really wanted me to do with it was to talk to other men who were going through it, or people who had a loved one going through it.
It's cathartic for them. It's cathartic for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's when I started getting people calling and saying, this guy at church, he just got the diagnosis. He's scared to death. Can you talk to him?
Well, we certainly are glad that you're still around, James.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's an amazing story, and I think
We would have had an empty week if he wasn't still around.
so. James, I want you to give out some plugs. Where can our audience find you? What are you doing now? I know we got Your History, Your Story podcast. We got a big mutual friend in Charlie Cifarelli.
Great man, Charlie.
Yeah, he's a great man who, talk about hope. That was my main job after Charlie had his medical issues, was to continue bringing him hope.
He is amazing guy. And I just want to say one last thing on about the speaking with others. I have made friends with some men who have had far more advanced and serious cases of prostate cancer that had metastasized, who are heroes, absolute heroes. And I can't say enough about them, but it's a privilege to walk alongside them. And, I know a little bit about what they went through. I've been very fortunate with my outcome, but I just want to tell men out there, particularly if you're in your 40s, 50s, get that PSA done. Talk to your doctors, get that test done, because early detection is so critical. And that's one of the main reasons I wanted to talk about this. And also, men, it's okay to talk about it. Find somebody who's gone through it. There's a lot of guys have. Talk to your doctor about it. Any concerns? If you had it in your family or you have a friend, talk about it. So that's what I wanted to say. But as far as that, Kelly and I, we love our podcast, Your History, Your Story. We're on YouTube. We're on most of the platforms, Apple, Spotify, others. Great guests.
Give out your social media links as well.
Yeah, can we put those in the notes? Because my wife Kelly would know them right off the bat.
We'll put them all in your notes. I know you're on Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
What other platforms are you on social media?
Instagram, Facebook,
Twitter too, right? Or not TikTok.
Yes. TikTok. I'm looking at my wife now. She's
Let's just ask her.
Kelly, okay. Twitter. Okay, we're on Twitter.
That's good.
Snapchat. No, that's
TikTok.
We're all 40 years too old in this room to be on Snapchat. So that was a test.
What was the other one? Fans only? Only fans?
Yeah. So, listen, James, we're
Facebook too.
Facebook.
Yes.
We're coming to the end of this thing here, and we always complete the show because I believe that there's lessons in everything, even tragedy. There's lessons in. So you've gone through this amazing journey, prostate cancer, surgery, complications, losing your father to cancer, watching your mother die. What do you think that your suffering has taught you?
It's taught me that there's a lot of people out there who will come alongside of you and support you, even if maybe they haven't gone through what you've gone through. But people who have just that sense of helping others. There's more good people out there than you know about. And you'll find people, and you'll find colleagues, family members, within your own family, but also distant family members who maybe find out that you have this. Reach out, talk to other people. I found out that there's so many people who cared about me more than I ever imagined.
We say a lot on this show when you're going through that dark tunnel, right? You feel like you're all by yourself. It's so dark in there, you can't see the people that are standing right next to you, walking along with you.
Well said, Mike.
Right. And that's true. You
Well
think
said.
you're all by yourself.
Yep.
There's always people standing right next to you.
I was not by myself. My wife, primarily, she was with me. She put up with a lot of one quick thing. One time I had just taken a shower and Kelly was helping me, and she got out the deodorant and she was going to hand it to me, and I put my arm up for her to put the deodorant under my arm. She goes, "Oh no."
That's drawing the line.
I got to draw the line there. But a lot of good people that I found out were around there who love me and were going to go to bat for me.
And they're good friends of yours now.
Yes.
People you probably would have never met if this didn't happen.
You're right. Right.
I couldn't agree more, James. I thank you so much for coming in and sitting with us, telling this difficult story, but I think it's going to do a lot of good.
Thank you very much, Kevin and Mike. I really appreciate being on your show.
Listen, it's a pleasure having you here and you opening up, because you're going to help a lot of people.
Thank you both.
And that's going to do it for this episode of The Suffering Podcast, The Suffering of Prostate Cancer with James Gardner. And let's think about all the stuff that we learned today. Don't dwell on fear. Be the rock for your family. Statistics can be a blessing, but they can also be a curse. Feeling sorry for yourself does nothing. Side effects suck, but at least you're alive. But most importantly, support from others and supporting others helps you through the darkness. Don't forget, go to popple.com. You can get your digital business card, put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount. You can find us on all social media. That's Twitter, Facebook, Clapper, TikTok, Instagram. You can follow Mike at Mike_Failace. You can follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And of course, follow The Suffering Podcast. Don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe. And we're going to see you on the next episode.